You ever actually stop and ask, wait a second, why did Kurisu build CERN's time machine? This is something that's just kind of taken for granted in the story, but the more you think about it, the less sense it seems to make that Kurisu would ever work for CERN. So let's break down everything we know about Kurisu so I can show you why the real answer is probably a lot simpler than you're thinking. When Suzuha and Kurisu meet face to face, Suzuha hates her. As the mother of the time machine, she holds her responsible for creating CERN's dystopia in 2036, and even tries and fails to assassinate her before getting in Daru's time machine and traveling to 2010. At first glance, this just sounds like some 1984 level propaganda. I mean, really? Would Kurisu work for CERN? Like, really? She's not just some convenient figurehead for the masses to rage at during the 2 minutes of hate? Kurisu being the face of the time machine and the evil dystopian empire just seems wrong. But well, if it wasn't her, who else would have built it? She is the one that wrote the paper that started it all. Could anyone else really have built it? Who else would even know where to begin building a time machine? Okay, wait, let's back up and take this one step at a time. Why would Kurisu build CERN's time machine? When you ask this, the most common response is something like she was probably forced to, threatening her family or something. But when you think about it, this doesn't really make sense. Cooperating with CERN wouldn't just mean bringing about an end to democracy and freedom as we know it. It would mean directly working against the Future Gadget Laboratory, against her friends and the man she loves. Not just competing against them, but actively putting them in danger. Sure, she cares about her family. Arguably, she would have realized the futility of a relationship with her father, but she still cares about him and her mother too. But she cares about her friends just as much. Everything Okabe does is for his friends, and she's not any different. To Kurisu, there is no place where she truly belongs. In America, she was alone, starving for human connection. That's why she uses @channel, because it's the closest thing to actually connecting with Japanese people. And when she comes back to Japan to reconcile with her father, she only finds rejection. So America doesn't feel like home to her, and neither does Japan. Nowhere does, until Okabe welcomes her into his lab with his ragtag band of misfits. But even if she didn't care as much about the other lab members, Okabe is a different story. When Okabe starts time leaping, she immediately notices and makes sure to be there for him. If it were herself in danger, maybe she wouldn't even notice, but when Okabe starts using it, she immediately recognizes that something's wrong, and she picks up the phone and calls him, and becomes the one person in the world he most needs. She becomes the insane mad scientist when being so is too painful for him. Because she loves him. Because she doesn't just want to be there for him, she has to be there for him. When Okabe tells her he'll take her to Aomori, she realizes that this is a man who would do anything for her, and she wants to be the same for him. Okabe didn't just give her a place to belong. To her, Okabe is the single most important person in the world. So, would this woman not only work for the evil organization, but work for the evil organization that her lover is fighting to build a time machine? Would she really? This is like at least level 3 press X to doubt. There's this moment in Linear Bound Infinigram where we get to see Steins Gate from Kurisu's point of view as she sees his personality instantly change when he picks up the phone, and holding the broken Okabe in her arms, her heart skips a beat as she realizes she can't help but be at least a little bit elated that her time leap machine worked perfectly. Because if there's one thing she loves more than Okabe, it's science and the pursuit of the unknown. So maybe she was just curious. I mean, this is the girl that walked into the lab and, without even a little bit of hesitation, stuck her finger in the radioactive looking banana and tasted it.
ピンセットない？
ない。
そう。中はグズグズね。味はない。
When Okabe tells her he's found a long-lost secret in a dusty old computer, despite her profound disgust at Okabe and his experiments, she immediately calls her colleague about it before reluctantly showing back up at the lab.
クリス、遠く日本からメールありがとう。
When Okabe puts a halt to the experiments and says they'll go public with it, she's relieved because that is a decision she would not have been able to make herself.
実験しないって言われて正直ほっとした。多分みんなも一緒だったんじゃないかと思う。
As smart as she is, this is not a woman driven by logic. She's driven by curiosity. This desire to learn, this infectious parasite gnawing at her soul. Anytime she comes across an idea she doesn't fully understand. This feeling of something being wrong with the world until she can uncover the answer. That is who Kurisu is. So when this woman realizes that time travel is possible and builds the time leap machine by herself in a dusty apartment, do you really think she would stop there? Be content merely knowing that time travel is possible? Yeah, I don't think so either. This is the woman that made a grapefruit and natto beef salad because she wondered what would happen if you mix those flavors together. Her brain never even making it so far as proposing a hypothesis. Oh god, that's horrible. Curiosity killed the Kurisu because danger is a concept that barely passes through her mind for even a second the instant a new mystery appears in front of her. She's relieved when Okabe cancels the experiments because while she was worried, sure, she's not stupid. In fact, she may even be the smartest scientist in the world. If she was left to her own devices, she would have kept experimenting. She can't help it. She would not have been able to ignore her curiosity for the sake of her friends, let alone the world. Okay, so I think we're a lot closer to answering the question why Kurisu would have worked for CERN. But again, what she's fighting by joining CERN isn't just the world, isn't just her friends, but Okabe, the man she loves, the single most important person in the world to her. To her, Okabe is her world. So I don't think even her insatiable curiosity would alone be enough to push her to the dark side. But with this in mind, there is one last piece of information that I think we're missing. Something that's quite easy to forget, really. The Kurisu and the Future Gadget Laboratory that builds the Time Leap machine is not the same Kurisu and Future Gadget Laboratory that builds the time machine in the future. If you've watched my analysis series, or if you've played Linear Bound Infinigram, maybe you can guess what I'm about to say, but there's something integral to the lab that isn't there in the future. Something so important that the lab would be torn apart if it were missing. Something that is the very essence, the very soul of what makes the lab so special. Something. Or someone, I should say. That's right. That's right. The timeline where Kurisu is alive to build the time machine is the timeline where Mayuri dies. And with this in mind, well, I guess the answer's kind of obvious now, isn't it? Why would Kurisu work against the lab, against her lover, against the man she would do anything for? Because supporting him is exactly what she is doing. They aren't together in the future because losing Mayuri destroyed a part of him that he's not getting back. Mayuri is the soul of the lab, and Kurisu realizes that without Mayuri, there is no lab. There is no Ho in Kyoma. Without Mayuri, there is no Okabe. She builds the time machine because she wants to save Mayuri's life too, and the only way to do that is by taking a stand against history, taking a stand against time, and building that time machine, no matter what the cost might be. Now, there's one last question that might need answering, which is, did she really need to join CERN to do this? I mean, Makise Kurisu built the time leap machine in a man cave with a box of scraps. But again, this was in the Future Gadget Laboratory alongside her lover and her best friends, the one place in the world she felt truly at home. And this is a home that simply does not exist in the future. Sure, she was a cold-hearted, prodigal, perverted genius girl before this, but it's in the Future Gadget Laboratory where she did her best work, the time leap machine. So, with CERN at her throat, would she really have been able to build a time machine by herself? Maybe, but maybe it was just easier to give in. Sure, maybe it was in the hands of evil, maybe there was a better way to do it, maybe she could have followed in Daru's footsteps with the rebellion, but maybe, just maybe, she also did just kind of really want to build a time machine.
案外タイムマシンが作りたくてセルンに従ってただけかもね。
So this is the third video I've made on Linear Bound Infinigram. If you enjoyed it, you'd be helping me out a lot by stepping on the like button. If you missed the last two, check them out right here, and tune in for next time when we finally talk about the Steins Gate dating sim, which is just so much better than it has any right to be. As always, thank you so much for your time, friends, and I will see you in the next video.